Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from Eldred well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit, and I'm entitled this one, America is collapsing and will not bounce back. Meaning the false promises that Donald Trump, the president of the U.S., made to his citizens, to its fellow Americans, its fellow Babylonians, that he was going to fix the economy, he was going to end all wars, he was going to put more money in people's paychecks, that inflation was going to go down, that there was going to be more jobs created. But what has Nero in the reincarnation, which is Donald Trump, that we believe to be, what has he done in only a year and a couple months is completely destroy the hopes that these Americans had in its president. Because 2 years ago, people were rejoicing at the fact that Biden was going to get up out of there and Trump was going to get in there and fix everything up. But he has done the complete opposite, because ultimately he's under the control. Yeah, he's under the control of the wicked elite, banking families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and even the Netanyahus. But really, it's the Lord, is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, that's in control of what these kings, these presidents, these prime ministers are doing, because they're just fulfilling prophecy. They're helping fulfill prophecy, and the prophecies that they're helping to fulfill, first and foremost, the mass implementation of the MOTB, written in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16, which is the RFID microchip. They're helping to fulfill that prophecy by collapsing this economy, by collapsing the dollar, doing away with physical currency and bringing in that digital system, those CBDCs, the blockchain, where all the information, your social security, your digital ID, your carbon footprint, and all your information, your biometrics, it's all going to be inside that RFID microchip. And what is that going to lead to? That's going to lead to the second coming of who everybody ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, which his real name is Yahweh Shai in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. He's coming back not just to bring the self-proclaimed white man Esau Edom down, but he's also coming to deliver his remnant, his elect, the 144,000 and one-third out of this captivity, because only the remnant, the elect, are the only ones that are rejoicing at the fact that gas is $5 a gallon, while the rest of the world is bugging out. So this is Daniel chapter 4 and 17, and it reads, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set it up over it the basis of all men." So it was the Lord, it was Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, who set up Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, to rule upon the planet Earth. Because ultimately, that blessing that he's currently in, that temporary blessing of him having the fatness of the earth, ruling with the sword, that's written about in Genesis chapter 27, where Esau Edom sold his birthright to Jacob, which would be given unto his descendants, the 12 tribes, which today would be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the Israelite foreigners that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wearing that temporary blessing of Esau Edom. And he wasn't meant to rule forever. He wasn't meant to rule for eternity. And that's why these people are bugging out. Mainly these Edomites that thought they were going to get a piece of the pie, a piece of the blessing. No, the elite banking families, they're hoarding that blessing all for themselves. Like it says in Habakkuk chapter 2, his desire is his hell. He can never have enough. That's the self-proclaimed white man. That's why he's trying to establish his NWO so he can have complete control of the thoughts of the people, complete control of the resources, where you're going to have to go to him for the one of all things. And we already do, but he wants to take it an extra step forward. And he's taking it there. That's why he's collapsing America. He's collapsing his economy, because he's about to bring in that great reset, to reset this whole, current system, this physical currency, the U.S. dollar, which is a fiat currency. So there's this whole America is going to be healed. Babylon the Great is going to bounce back. It's not. This place is done. It's through. It's not going to recover. We're at its 250 year, come July 4th. So we're at the end of this current empire, but only the remnant and the elect can see these signs. And these preppers, these truthers, these whistleblowers, they may know that this place is through, but they're not expecting who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ to come back and utterly destroy this place. They're just thinking that, okay, the economy is going to collapse. It's going to be like the Great Depression. We're going to go through a rough period, and then boom, come out the bunkers. Everything's better. No, the nation of Israel, the kingdom of heaven, that's going to be established upon the planet Earth. That's what's up next. Not no China being the next superpower, not no Russia being the next superpower, not no Arabian countries. No, the ones who have next are going to be the Israelites, starting with Yahushua, the 144,000, and the rest of the 1/3, which is going to be that governing body. In verse 7, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Meaning, what's going to divide the times, says, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follow it. So this is Ezra asking the angel, what's going to be the signs of the kingdom of heaven to come, that's going to be established upon the planet Earth. It says, verse 8, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob hand held first the heel of Esau. Verse 9, and for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So we're at the end of this world. And it's not meaning that the world's going to blow up into 1,000 pieces and it's going to be scattered throughout space. No, this is talking about the end of an age, the end of an aeon. We're at the end of this current age, which is being ran by the self-proclaimed white man. So all this, I thought Trump was going to fix everything. Gas was going to go back down. Grocery probably, no. We're at the end of this man's kingdom, and he knows that. He has his Project Looking Glass. That's why he's coming down with that great wrath, like it says in Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12, because he knoweth that he has a short time. So he has to get this new world order, this digital prison, this CBDC system, this MOTB system up and running ASAP, because time is not on the self-proclaimed white man Esau Edom's side. The only time is ultimately only for the remnant and the elect. Yeah, for the whole nation of Israel, but only for the remnant and the elect. That's why the days are being shortened, for the elect's sake. This is Matthew 24 and verse 3. And it reads, as he sat up on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privily, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, the second coming of Yahushua? It says, in the end of the world. Going back into that second Ezra chapter 6. The end of this current world, the end of this current age, this current aeon that's currently being ran by the self-proclaimed white man. It says, verse 4, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Yeah, because the remnant, the elect, they're not going to be deceived by these false prophets. These Christian pastors and these doomsday preppers. Yes, some of the members of the elect might have been in these other religions, even following after other Israelite camps, telling you that you're an Israelite, that Esau, Edom is a devil, pushing the fringes, the law. But that's as deep as it gets. They weren't pushing prophecy. They weren't telling you that we're at the end of this current age, this current empire. But the remnant and the elect, Yahweh Bashim El-Shai is going to get them out of those other religions, out of these other camps, these Christian churches, and ultimately bring them into the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim El-Shai, because it's going to resonate within their spirit. It says verse 5, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. And a lot of our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, deceived. A lot of people got deceived by Trump, claiming that God chose me to do this, and he's right. Yahweh Bashim El-Shai did set up Esau, Edom. He set Donald Trump up to further help fulfill prophecy, and that's what he's doing. He's helping fulfill Ezekiel 38 with the bombing of Iran, trying to take over the Strait of Hormuz. That's bringing in all these nations, Russia, Turkey, because this is leading to that third world war, which eventually is going to go nuclear. But first, the mass implementation of the MOTB, which is the RFID microchip, has to be made mandatory, which that's right around the corner too. It says verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So all these things are coming to pass, but the end is not yet. We're at the beginning stages of this empire. This American empire, this Babylonian empire, this revived Roman empire. It's on its way out. But all these different prophecies do have to be fulfilled before Esau, even the self-proclaimed white man, is brought down. But that includes with America crumbling and not being revived, not being brought back to its glory days after the Second World War, after it bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. No, those days are over. People aren't looking at America the same way that they used to post-World War II era. Being afraid, like, oh shit, they got atomic bombs, they got nukes. Oh hell no, we not fucking with America. We don't want them to bomb us. All these countries, they're bucking up against America. Like it says, let the weak say I'm strong. All these countries that were once afraid of America, were afraid to even, speak against them. Everybody's bucking up against Babylon, the great America, including its own allies. And that's prophecy as well. The beast is gonna hate the whore, which is meaning NATO and the EU, which are the allies of U.S., of America, Babylon the Great, are eventually going to turn on its whore, because it's just running loose. It's just running loose around the earth, just fucking shit up, going to places where they have no business going. Cuba, Venezuela, now they're trying to invade Iran, they're trying to take over Mexico, just all over the place. Verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And that's what's happening. Now you have all these signs that are pointing towards the downfall of this kingdom, the downfall of America, Babylon the Great. But yet, majority of the world, they're not watching out for these signs, because they're not measuring the times diligently. So in their mind, they think that America is going to bounce back somehow. Miracle is going to be performed, and inflation all of a sudden went back down overnight. Gas prices went back to $1.50. No, those days are long gone. And like the scripture says, don't long for the good old days. These Americans, these Babylonians, they're longing for the good old days. They every holiday season now they claim that Christmas don't feel the same, Thanksgiving don't feel the same, because Yahweh Bashim El-Shai is taking the mirth out of this place, because he's about to let it be destroyed by those intercontinental ballistic missiles. But first, all these signs do have to come to pass, and you're seeing them. It says, for nation shall rise against nation. People, you have all these countries at war with each other right now. Russia, Ukraine, you got the U.S. versus Iran, you got India versus Pakistan, China versus Taiwan. It says, and there shall be famines. A famine is brewing up. with fertilizer and all the essential goods that need to be passed or need to be able to go through the Strait of Hormuz, so the crops can be planted, the seeds can be planted during this time, during the spring season. So come harvest season in September, October, those goods, those crops can be harvested. If they're not being planted, if that fertilizer isn't making it through, if the oil, the gas is not being processed, that's going to lead to famine. That's going to lead to trucks not being moved around the country, the 18-wheelers, the cargo ships that need gas and oil to function. This is all leading to a famine. It says, and pestilences. You already seen pestilences, new viruses popping left and right. Confirmed cases of a virus never heard it before. It says in earthquakes in diverse places. You had I think a record number, if I'm not mistaken. I'm about to look it up just to make sure. Yeah, you had 17th earthquakes in the Area 51 a couple days ago. Whatever they're doing, they may be doing tests, underground tests still. It's helping fulfill that prophecy more and more. Just earthquakes where you never thought there would be earthquakes at. It says all these are the beginning of sorrow. So we're at the beginning of sorrow. These people, they're bugging out right now. Like it says, if they're doing these things in the green tree, how much more in the dry? Meaning if they're bugging out, while they're still able to go to their jobs, do their daily routine, be stuck in traffic for 2 hours, pay $6 for a gas a gallon, pay $20, for a carton of eggs and a gallon of milk. People are bugging out over that. They haven't seen nothing yet. They haven't seen that Revelation chapter 6 and verse 6, a measure of wheat for a day's wage. That's when people are really going to bug the hell out, when their gas, a gallon of gas is $100, a loaf of bread, $200. Forget about the beef and chicken. But yet these people are bugging out over this shit, and they're hoping to be healed and go back to normal, but it's not. We're at the end of this empire. This is Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. It made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. So they slept with the whore, with the great harlot, which is America, Babylon the Great. Benefiting off America, and importing all their goods so these Americans can consume them. Because America is one of the most consumer citizens, people up on the planet Earth. Constantly buying a new gadget, the new car, a new house, new clothes, even though they don't need them. Living a lifestyle, and an unsatiable lifestyle. These Americans can never have enough. But not all these countries are starting to find out, man, we shouldn't have gotten business with Babylon the Great. Look at the Saudi Arabian countries. They're getting bombed because America, Babylon the Great, established those military bases over there. And now, as a result of that, now they're getting hit with missiles because of America's fault. Now you got all these countries, Spain, France, talking about, we're not going to help you out. Furthering that all the nations are mad. They're mad at America because it's just going. It says verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take palm for her pain? If so, she may be healed. And America, Babylon the Great, it's already destroyed in the spirit. It just has to play out in the real time and in the physical. But yet these people are somehow hoping that it's gonna be healed and America's gonna go back to his glory days. The tribes being put back in chains. No, those days are done away with. The next ones that are gonna be put in chains are gonna be the heathen nations. First and foremost, Esau, Edom, and the rest of the nations, to help build up the kingdom of heaven. So all this crying out, A lot of them are crying out to, oh, God, can you heal America? No. Yahweh Bashim Shai he's gonna heal America, right, by wiping it off the face of the earth by those intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's the only solution that this place has, is those nukes. Because here, everything's degenerate, polluted water, polluted air, chemtrails, GMO foods. You got the moles running loose. The alphabet agenda being pushed onto your children. Bodies all jacked up. That's why Yahweh Bashim Shai is speeding up the days, because if we was to continue to live here, eating our bread defiled among the Gentiles, we wouldn't make it. That's why the Lord is speeding up the days for the elect's sake. So all this, Donald Trump, please, I thought you were going to help us out. Give us a stimulus check. No. Donald Trump, Nero 47, is just helping fulfill prophecy more and more. It says, verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reaches unto heavens and is lifted up, lifted up even to the sky. So all these people that came over here to America, the Chinese, the Arabians, the Indians, they're all starting to leave Babylon the Great. Even Esau Edom, he's closing up shop. He's closing up his businesses because a lot of Edomites, they're in the know. Like in that movie, Leave the World Behind, that guy, that I think it was an Edomite, he was telling the dude, who owned that house, that it's about to get real bad. That you should do this, you should do that. I'm about to close this business up, because these Edomites and these other heathen nations, they know that America, Babylon the Great, is done. But yet, our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and these dumbass heathens, they still have that expectation that somehow everything's going to get fixed magically. That they're going to get another stimmy check. That somehow they're going to drop another bailout bill and decrease inflation for 3 months, and then boom, it goes back up. But the Lord is collapsing this system, and it's collapsing quick. It doesn't have long. And what's earth? That's the old America is going to be healed and be, continue to be up on the planet Earth for another 250 years. No, America does not have no hundreds of years left. No, this place is about to get up out of here. Yahweh Bashim Shai is about to bring Esau Edom down, destroy America by the way of those intercontinental ballistic missiles, deliver his remnant, his elect that are sighing, crying to judge this place, to judge the wicked 2/3, to judge the heathens, and beam them up and deliver them, crown them, be changed to those new bodies, and establish the kingdom of heaven. Take those wicked elite out of those bunkers, like it says in Revelation chapter 6, and establish the kingdom of heaven up on the planet Earth that the heathen nations are going to help build up, including the self-proclaimed white man Esau. Pray that this was edifying unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who have learned this truth from who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect.